Welcome to this gigantic freezer meal prep. I love keeping my freezer full of freezer meals for those days when I don't really know what I'm going to make for dinner. I just pull out a freezer meal and I just heat it up. It is that simple. So today I'm going to be sharing how I like to fill up my freezer and keep it affordable. Also keep it pretty simple. I love simple freezer meals. Also, these meals are going to be delicious. They're not boring. Let's go get to prepping. The first thing that I'm going to be prepping today is this Fiesta chicken casserole. So to get it started, you're going to need about 12 cups of cooked shredded chicken. And the reason why I'm using 12 cups of chicken is because I'm tripling all of these recipes today. So if you just wanted to make one batch, just use 4 cups of chicken. You could also quadruple these recipes. You could double them. You could really do whatever works for you. But I found that tripling recipes for freezer meals really works well. Now that my chicken is completely cooked through, my favorite way to shred a large amount of meat that needs to be shredded is with my electric hand mixer. It just works so quickly and wonderfully, but you could also shred it with 2 forks. That would be totally fine. I'll let my chicken completely cool down at this point. Now I'm going to get started on my black beans. I'm using 3 cans of black beans. Since I am tripling this recipe, just go ahead and drain and rinse them at this point. Just do it to the best of your ability, and this over the sink strainer just works super well for it. Also, this Fiesta chicken casserole is on page 63 in my cookbook. It's in the casserole section and it is just one of my family's favorite recipes. That's why it's in my cookbook. We really love it. But I have my 3 aluminum pans right here. I'm spraying them with nonstick spray. Now I'm going to evenly distribute the chicken in each of the pans. After the chicken in each pan, I'm going to add in 1 cup of uncooked instant rice. Next, add in a 10-ounce can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. It's basically like a can of Rotel, but like off-brand. Next, add in a 10-ounce can of cream of chicken soup, or you could use any type of cream of soup you like, or you can make a homemade version. I have some homemade versions in the back of my cookbook that you could use. Now I'm adding in about 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning, or you could make like a homemade version of taco seasoning. I also have that in the back of my cookbook. Now I'm adding in a 1/2 cup of frozen corn, or you could add in a drained can of like canned corn. You could use more corn or less corn, however much you like. Then I added in the drained and rinsed black beans, followed by 3 tablespoons of milk. Next, in each pan, add in 1 cup of Fiesta blend cheese and give this a really good stir. This recipe is so easy to make into like freezer meals just because you could stir everything in the pans. It is so simple. Now I just sprinkled a 1/2 cup more cheese over the top, spread that cheese out, and there you go. All you have to do now is label it. I'm just labeling it with these little labels. These are easy to peel off of aluminum foil, but they do stick on foil super easily as well. But now I'm just going to put some plastic sheeting over the top. This is just like normal plastic wrap. Don't press it down because you don't want it to stick to the cheese. Just make sure it is on top super tight, like I said, so it doesn't stick on, and then put a label over the top. And then when you stick this in the freezer, don't stick them on top of each other. Otherwise, the plastic wrap is going to stick to the meal. So you want to freeze them just like this, not like jammed on top of each other. But once they are frozen, you can stick them on top of each other. But now I am just going to prepare this freezer meal on a crazy night when I don't really want to make a full dinner. I just removed all of the plastic wrap and then stick that foil on top. I also did remove that label on top of the foil. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees, covered in that foil for 60 minutes. Then uncover it for an additional 10 minutes or until everything is heated through. This freezer meal worked out so wonderfully. It was so flavorful and good. It did not lack in flavor at all. You need to try this freezer meal. Now we are going to prep this chicken Parmesan casserole. This is another great easy casserole to prep. I have 3 aluminum pans right here. I'm spraying them with nonstick spray. Next, add about a box of pasta in. Just add that dry pasta into each pan. I had different types of pasta on hand, so I used different types and it worked out just fine. Now I'm going to add in 24 ounces of marinara sauce. Any type of marinara sauce will work. After that, add in 1 pound of uncooked chicken. chicken. Yes, make sure your chicken is uncooked. Just add it right into the pan. This is so simple, I promise. Next, I'm adding in a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper, then about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and to give this a stir. Make sure the pasta is coated in the sauce and the chicken is scattered throughout the baking dish. And then all you have to do now is just make sure you cover this tightly with that plastic wrap. And then you could cover this after that with the foil. This is really going to help prevent freezer burning. Put the label on top, and this is so simple. Remember, don't have the plastic wrap hugging the food while it is freezing, just because we don't want the plastic wrap to stick to the food. You could also use like wax paper or parchment paper instead of the plastic wrap if you would like. Now we're going to get started on the Parmesan topping. I am making this Parmesan topping the day I'm prepping these recipes, just so I don't have to make it the day that I am making these recipes in the oven, or if I give these recipes to a friend, they don't have to worry about making that Parmesan topping on the side. So in this big bowl, I added 3 cups of mozzarella cheese, a cup of Parmesan cheese, then 3 cups of panko breadcrumbs. Just give this a stir. Now you're going to want to divide it into 3 bags. So I have my baggie holders right here. They're on their lowest setting, and these baggie holders are so helpful if you're making freezer meals or if you want to like marinate something. So I labeled my bags. Now I'm just sticking them on the bag holders, and then you are going to evenly distribute the Parmesan panko mixture in each of the bags. When making freezer meals, labeling the meal is definitely essential, just so you know what you are making, and make sure you add the cooking time and instructions on the meals. I didn't do that for these meals, so if I do need to give these meals to someone in need of a dinner for that night, I will tell them the cooking time and instructions, just so they're not confused. But now I'm going to make this dinner. It is completely frozen at this point. I'm adding in 3 cups of water right into the pan. Make sure you remove all of the plastic wrap and just cover it tightly with foil. Bake this in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 50 to 60 minutes, or until the chicken's cooked through and the pasta is basically tender. Give it a good stir and then sprinkle that Parmesan panko topping on the very top. Bake it for an additional 15 minutes, and then you could serve this up. This chicken Parmesan casserole is so flavorful and delicious. Casseroles will last in your freezer for up to 3 months before you start seeing some like frost on the surface, although it is still safe to eat the casseroles for up to 6 months when they're in your freezer. They're just best up to 3 months in my opinion. Now I'm going to get started on prepping my sheet pan dinner. So this first sheet pan dinner is sheet pan chicken and vegetables. This is a really good one. I just started out by labeling my bag. I just wrote the date and what is in the bag, but you could also write the cooking instructions and time if you would like. Now I'm just going to be cutting up my 6 zucchinis into smaller pieces right now. Now over here to my bags, I have my bags already prepped in the bag holders. I added 3 tablespoons of olive oil in each bag. Next, add in 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar along with about a teaspoon of salt, then about a half a teaspoon of pepper, then 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Next, you're going to add in your cherry tomatoes in each bag, and then after your cherry tomatoes, add in your zucchinis in each bag. I do want to let you know zucchinis aren't the best like at prepping into freezer meals. They do get a little bit mushy, but they do work out fine, and I still think they're good. But if you want to cut up your zucchini on the day you make this meal and add it in, if you want it to be super crisp, you could do that as well. I also added in fresh green beans, about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese in each bag, then 1.5 pounds of cubed uncooked chicken breast. Just give the bags a really good shake after you take them off the bag holders and you seal them. This is kind of going to marinate the chicken while it is freezing in the freezer. These sheet pan dinners really keep their flavor best in the freezer for up to 3 months when frozen. So now I'm just going to make this dinner. I slightly thawed mine out. It is not completely thawed at this point. It's just partially thawed. I stuck it on my sheet pan lined with parchment paper. This will bake in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 40 minutes or until the chicken's cooked through. Now we are prepping this sheet pan pesto chicken, so to get it started out, I have 4 pounds of red potatoes right here. I just diced them into smaller pieces. Now I'll set my potatoes to the side. I already labeled my bags and placed them on my bag holders. I poured about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in each bag. Now I'm adding a half a cup of basil pesto into each bag as well. Next I'm going to add in about a half a teaspoon of salt and a fourth a teaspoon of pepper into each bag. Next I'm going to try to divide the potatoes into each bag just to the best of my ability. You want about 1.5 pounds of potatoes into each bag, but of course you could just eyeball it. Next I'm going to add my green beans into the bags as well. If you don't want to use green beans, you could always use other vegetables. You could really make these freezer meals your own so easily. Now I'm adding in my tomatoes. Of course, the same thing with the tomatoes. If you don't want to add them in, you certainly don't have to. Now add in about 1 pound of cubed chicken breast into the bags and then seal the bags up and give them a really good shake. Don't these just look so beautiful? My favorite way to make these freezer meals is to slightly thaw them out for about 10 to 20 minutes before I stick them in the oven. That way they just break apart very easily and they're easy to pour onto a sheet pan. And potatoes do brown easily, but if you freeze them right away and you don't like refrigerate these freezer meals, they won't brown. So it really works out well. I baked this in my preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 55 minutes or until the chicken was cooked through and the potatoes were tender. My house was smelling so good and this freezer meal was a total winner dinner. Now we're getting started on slow cooker freezer meals. The first one are these Southwest chicken bowls. So into my labeled bags on my bag racks, I added in 1 cup of frozen corn. Next, I'm adding in 1 can of black beans that I did drain and rinse. Now go ahead and add in 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. Then add in about 1.5 tablespoons of taco seasoning in each bag. For the chicken, I'm using 1 pound of chicken tenderloins. I just added it in and then I'm just sealing my bags up, give it a shake. Then slow cooker freezer meals are best in your freezer for up to 3 months in my opinion. And then to make these, I just like to stick them on my countertop for about 20 minutes before I place them in my slow cooker. That way they're able to kind of slightly de-thaw a little bit. This will cook on low for about 6 to 7 hours or until the chicken is cooked through. Just shred up your chicken and then you could serve this up. We like to eat ours over a bed of rice. Top it with your favorite toppings and there you go, the easiest dinner to throw together. Now we're prepping this chicken tortilla soup, so I have my bags labeled and ready to go. I'm first adding in 1 cup of frozen corn. Next, I'm going to add in a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. Then add in a tablespoon of minced garlic in each one. Next, a diced yellow onion in each one. And then about 10 ounces of red enchilada sauce. I do want to let you know, when you make freezer meals like this does help you save money. Just because you're able to buy things in bulk, like I bought this big can of enchilada sauce in bulk and just added some in each one instead of buying like little individual cans. I also bought like a big bag of frozen corn. That will help you save money. So making freezer meals does help you save money just because you're able to buy things in bulk that you wouldn't normally need to buy in bulk because you might not be able to use all of it at once. After I added that enchilada sauce in, I added in chicken broth and I added in extra chicken broth instead of adding in water just for added flavor this time. Next, I added in 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning, a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of salt, and then I added in my chicken. I also did buy in my chicken in bulk, so that did help save money as well. I added in about 1 pound of chicken in each bag, then I gave it a little shake. You could stick these freezer bags in your freezer now. I do like to let these bags thaw out just for a little bit before I place them in my slow cooker, just so it's not not like you're placing one big brick into your slow cooker. But I let this cook on low for 7 to 8 hours or until my chicken was cooked through. Once the chicken was cooked through, all you have to do is shred it up into smaller pieces, stir it into the soup, and then you could serve this up. We like to top our soup with our favorite toppings. We like to top it basically with anything that I have on hand. This is so easy to throw together in such a delicious soup. Now we're prepping this barbecue pulled pork, and the best part about this recipe is it only has about 3 ingredients in it, so it really is easy to make. I labeled my bags, now I'm putting them on my bag clip holders, and then you are going to add your pork into each bag. I'm using about 4 pounds of pork loin, just put it into each bag just like this. Next, add in 2 cups of barbecue sauce. I did buy my barbecue sauce in bulk just because it was a little bit cheaper to do that. Next, add in about 1.25 cups of Dr. Pepper or any soda like Coke or root beer. That soda really helps tenderize the meat and gives it a little bit of flavor. Now just seal your bags up and make sure you use the freezer bags just because they're better in the freezer and they won't break. Also, when I make big freezer meals like this in bags, I do like to double bag them, and that is what I ended up doing just to make sure they don't break in the freezer just because the bags are so heavy. So I partially thawed my pork out and then I added it into my slow cooker. This will cook on low for about 8 to 9 hours or until the pork is tender. Now I'm just going to shred it up with my hand mixer like this. Easy peasy, so simple to throw together, and then you could just serve this up. We served ours in a bun, but you could serve yours in a baked potato or however you choose to do so. We also served this with some baked potato salad on the side. Make sure you're subscribed down below the video so you don't miss the next one. Bye for now.